Let's go over to Ashley Vance, who now, that first piece we read about Luke Ferrator, that was with Bloomberg, but he's no longer with Bloomberg. Ashley Vance has moved over to corememory.com, his new media company. He's independent. He's going direct. And he has a fantastic write-up of the Boom Supersonic test that happened in the Mojave. And he says, "Take me to bed or lose me forever in the supersonic corridor." The city of Mojave has a population of about 4,000 people and sits 100 miles north of Los Angeles. Some people might describe it as a dump, I guess, and they would not be altogether wrong. As the name indicates, the city of Mojave is in the Mojave Desert. It gets about 2 to 6 inches of rain a year, experiences extremes of heat and cold, and has gusting winds. California State Route 14 rips right along the city's edge, and if you're not on it or not paying attention, you could drive by Mojave in a flash, missing out on the delicacies offered up at a Denny's, Wiener Schnitzel, or Subway, or a fine stay at the 2-star America's Best Value Inn. Core Memory has a need for reads. Become a free or paid subscriber and support our battle against Nameless Face's enemy. Let's go. I love reading the calls to action in the middle of a Substack post. So go subscribe if you're not subscribed already. All of this is to say that I love Mojave and go there as often as I can. What drew me this time is this Boom Supersonic launch. And so the airport is flanked by Edwards Air Force Base and the Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake. China Lake is a fascinating story. We should dig into at some point. That's where they do a lot of crazy military tests. That means the Mojave has an exceptional, sometimes eccentric aircraft doing wonderful things, and that the flying stuff is complemented by stuff that goes boom. The event that catalyzed the Mojave's position as a special place incorporated all these characteristics. It occurred in 1947 when Captain Charles Yeager became the first human to go past the sound barrier in the Bell X-1 plane. In the years that followed, the military bases did most of the work pushing the Mojave's reputation as the forefront of aerospace adventure. Tom Wolfe captured the scene well in The Right Stuff, where courageous, manly pilots were turning up in the desert to flex their cojones, and young women were apparently all about it. Wolfe describes both groups mingling at the Happy Bottom Riding Club run by the iconic Florence Lowe Pancho Barnes with language that I'm not sure mainstream writers would get away with today. Although labial piping little birds is evocative. And he says,
his writing is, this is why when Ashley Vance started Core Memory, Legacy Media died, because they lost a star.
I think this type of writing makes a comeback with Ashley Vance in the wild. He doesn't have an editor now. He can say whatever he wants. Let's get the flowery language out there. Let's differentiate from the LLMs, the slop. We're not going slop when we're reading Ashley Vance. It's good stuff.
Yeah, OpenAI is hitting refresh on corememory.com, waiting to ingest this this incredible flowery language.
Yeah, and so he's there to talk about Boom Supersonic. Last week, Mojave, the city, returned to its full glory, at least for a moment. Boom Supersonic flew its XB-1 jet past the sound barrier for the first time, and I got to witness the whole affair. And he's making a video about it, so go subscribe to Core Memory. Boom was founded in 2014 by Blake Scholl, and he had nothing resembling an aerospace pedigree. Scholl, a computer scientist, had worked at Amazon and Groupon, dear God, before starting Boom.
Yeah, so his LinkedIn was getting shared around because he was a product manager at Groupon right before starting Boom.
Yeah.
So what a outlier bet. He would have been nicely pattern matched to go start some type of retail app SaaS company, but not the guy that's getting pattern matched to start a supersonic aviation aerospace company.
Yeah. And so even with his pedigree, he went to YC. They gave him a lot of coaching on how to get, how to pull forward like contracts and kind of like, not like real revenue, but like if you make it, we'll buy it. And that de-risked for investors. And so all of a sudden, I think the combination of the background, the YC strategy, the demo day, all that stuff got the business off the ground and got the initial funding. And I love that when people talk about him working at Groupon, he's like, yeah, now I'm just trying to do 50% off coupons for how long it'll take you to fly from LA to New York.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one. He's got a bunch of zingers based on it. And so here we are 11 years later. What a journey. And Boom is still at it. And the XB-1 is not even the aircraft around which it hopes to fly regular folk. Rather, the XB-1 is a single-person jet that Boom has used to test out some of its ideas, materials, and team when it comes to handling the pressures of supersonic flight. The plane that could end up taking people from London to New York in a zip is called Overture and will need a few years and tons more money to create and clear for safe travel. We've obviously been here before with the Concorde, but it had the weight of the British and French governments behind it. The XB-1 has been built on the back of venture capital, and when it went supersonic last Tuesday, it marked the first time an independently developed jet had done so. So it
yeah,
was
and they did so with a 50-person team.
It was a 50-person team on the XB-1 project. I think they have 140 employees. A lot of those people are working on Overture and other stuff.
But still, the fact that you can fit 50 people in a shot with the plane is incredible and
crazy.
Coming off the back of a recap that, you know, a lot of their investors had to, they had to say, hey, we're gonna, you know, basically double down, triple down on this thing to make it work. Incredible timing, and I'm imagining this success of this latest launch or flight should attract some more capital and allow them to continue to hopefully thrive.
100%. So after the flight, Scholl groused on X that neither the New York Times nor the Wall Street Journal had bothered to cover the event. That's warranted grousing. Calling him out, Ashley. Don't let up. But then again, you know, I'm glad that we have core memory. You know, I don't know if I want to read a New York Times write-up. Oh, it's annoying that they went fast. I don't like it.
Slow down.
Too fast. Okay, so he says, yes, okay, Boom had already flown XB-1 about 10 times from Mojave at sub-supersonic speeds. Scholl will tell you that the company has learned most of what it needed to during these test flights, and there's also a degree to which the XB-1 busting through the sound barrier was simply symbiotic. But also, WTF. There are pragmatic reasons this test flight was such a big deal. Boom is one of our last best shots at getting supersonic commercial travel. The Concorde retired in 2003 because it was too expensive. Afterwards, people were inclined to deem affordable supersonic flights as an impossibility, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We have a couple major supersonic bets going with Boom and Hermeus. Big fans of both companies, but they're both battling away in a horrifically hard and costly business. And if they fail, we might not see anyone take a swing at supersonic commercial flight for decades. Maybe you like being wedged in a seat for 11 hours going from San Francisco to Tokyo. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Ashley.
Yeah, no, it really is wild to think about just cutting in half, being able to get to Europe from LA in the time that it takes to get to New York would be incredible. You're shrinking at a time when, in many ways, you know, looking at the trade war story and things like that, Peter Zeihan was right in his prediction that we're going through this period of deglobalization, but supersonic flight would have an opposite effect in that everything would become closer, right? Being able to get to Tokyo in a couple hours. Very cool. Yep. Sam Altman would love that. He'd get to go hang with Massa a lot more regularly and go car shopping as well.
I love it. And so Ashley's waxing poetic about the impact of this. He says, on the far more visceral front, Boom doing this test flight was not just cool, but important for all the historical context reasons I laid out earlier. Some of the U.S.'s best engineering achievements have taken place in the Mojave because of the culture built up in the Mojave. It's a special place and it requires tending and fuel to keep on thriving. The U.S. is a rare country the U.S. is that rare country to even have a supersonic corridor and to have supersonic ready objects to shove through it. It's good to test such engineering limits and be reminded of what we're capable of and to maintain the need for speed. One of my favorite Mojave Aerospace types is Ben Brockert, who went on to work at Astra Space after a stint at Maston. I wrote about him in my book, When the Heavens Went on Sale, and include a tribute to Ben from that book here. Having pined to get into aerospace since he was a kid, Brockert bought a $500, very, very used 17-passenger van and drove it to the Mojave Desert to begin knocking on the doors of space startups. It took months to find a gig, living out of his van and trying to fill the days as best he could. I managed to get a library card and read all the books I had not read, he said. I also spent a lot of time bombing around the desert and trying not to die. Through a stroke of luck, a position opened up at Maston, and Brockert soon established himself as an essential part of the zombie team. He continued reading aerospace books and learned a ton on the job over the course of 3 years. Mojave is like a new space penance, he said. It sucks, but you put in your 2 to 3 years and then you go do something somewhere else if you're good. And so what a fantastic anecdote about just like, if you want to be in AI, you probably got to go to SF. If you want to be in defense tech, you're going to be in the Gundo. If you're going to be in supersonic stuff, you got to go to Mojave. And I love that.
It's not so bad out there. I'm sure you've driven through the desert at some point. It's got a kind of a, super galactic vibe out there. I'm bullish on the Mojave. We should do some on the ground reporting in the Mojave. Ashley, next time you go, please invite us.
Yeah, we'll go with you.
We'll tag along, and whatever news you're covering and breaking, we'll front run you a little bit. We'll break it live, but then we'll still cover your article the next day.